Everybody, thank you for coming out to our New Hampshire Institute of Management Accountant chapter event on the Certified Management Accountant designation. We've got a great panel tonight, and we've got a great group of students and professionals that are here and faculty as well from SNHU. So we want to thank everybody for coming out. What I want to do is before I introduce our moderator, I handed out little slips if you want to put your name in to win a scholarship from Gleim for the CMA exam. Just make sure you fill that out. And I'm collecting them in this bag. That's why I'm carrying this bag with me. So I have them in here and I have them protected so if nobody tries to steal them or put a second one in. If you are joining us via the live stream, in the comments section, you can put your name and we can fill them out in the back and enter them in. So if you're joining us virtually, we want to also be able to put you in the running for the scholarship as well. So with that being said, what I want to do is introduce Mark Hobson, who's the Senior Associate Dean for Business at Global Campus here at SNHU. And he has graciously agreed to be a moderator. He moderated our event last year, and it was a great success. So I'll turn it over. Oh, and I almost forgot. I also want to thank the SNHU Accounting Society, which is our accounting club on campus, which graciously sponsored the food for tonight and provided the pizza that you all had. And please, when you head out, if there's any pizza left, be sure to grab some because I'm not allowed to have any tonight. So thank you, Mark.
Hi, everybody. Are you doing okay? Wonderful. So I want this to be your time to learn, and I want this to be informal and sharing. And I will go in back of the podium and all that good stuff. But I also wanted to ask the IMA folks who are in our audience to perhaps just stand up and introduce themselves a little bit, and then I will go to our illustrious, wonderful panel that is here tonight with so much wisdom. These people have big brains. Also, if you see anyone wearing a tie and a suit, ask them for a job. So anyway, okay, here we go. Donna, would you like to stand up and get started? Thanks.
Hi everyone, my name is Donna Peralt. I've been a CMA now for about 3 years, and I'm also a SNU alum, but thank you. I am currently the controller of Skillings & Sons, which is one of the largest water well drilling companies in New Hampshire. And as the controller, I work every day with the owners of the company, helping them make decisions and helping their companies grow and prosper. So that's what the CMA has done for me. It's given me not only this designation, but this confidence, as well as all the education and the training that has gotten me to this position in this part of my career, which is what I wanted to do since I was 10 years old.
Wonderful. Thank you. Donna, would you like to introduce yourself?
Hi, my name is Don Reynolds. I'm the VP of Finance for a Cambridge-based software and analytics company, Charles River Analytics. I've been in the IMA for 25 years. Is that right? Yeah, I passed the CMA exam in 1994, believe it or not. And I wanted to echo what Donna said about what it has done for me in terms of confidence. I think when I took it, I was looking for something that would, help me gain some credibility, and I found it. Not only did it do that, but it helped me personally. I think that I felt more confident knowing that material because it is such a challenge to study that stuff and pass that exam. And I think that what you're going to find is if you're contemplating the CPA versus the CMA, if I'm a hiring manager and I'm looking for people coming out of school, I'm looking for people that are on the different track. I'm looking for people that have sort of gotten into this because they want to analyze the numbers. They want to be able to explain the numbers and why they're like that, not just what the numbers are. So in that regard, it helped me tremendously. And I'm glad to be here. If you have any questions about the exam, when I took it, there were 4 parts. So it started off, it was, I believe, economics and finance, external reporting, which I tested out of because I was a CPA, Then there was the management reporting, and then basically what we called quantitative analysis, the decision making under uncertainty. So if you have any questions about that, or anything else related to the exam, or what it's like to be out in industry, I'd be glad to answer them.
That's perfect. So this is a time also for you to network and to get to know folks. So it's totally cool as the night is coming to a close for you to just introduce yourself and just chat with the folks who are here. They can help you long term in your career path. And speaking of people who help you in your long-term career path, we also have some faculty/deans with us tonight. So Kristen, would you mind standing? We'll just introduce you real quickly, and I'm going to ask you to speak, but not now. Is that all right? So Kristen Regis is our Associate Dean in Global Campus Business over Finance, and she will talk to you a little bit later about our curriculum with both finance and accounting, if that's okay. And of course, we know our Associate Professor, Brian Bouchard, who's just an amazing human being and a wonderful instructor. And we also have Assistant Professor Dan Ford, who's here both in accounting and taxation. Dan, you can stand up if you don't mind. That'd be wonderful. Perfect. Did I miss anybody? Oh. Oh, and online we have a wonderful person named Mona Stevens, who's our faculty lead, also oversees our, do we call it an online chapter? Is that what we've called? Perfect. The first virtual IMA chapter in the country. We also have an Assistant Vice President of Finance of Southern New Hampshire University with us today. Do you want to stand up and introduce yourself? I always give the people who write the checks a chance to talk to you.
Hi, I'm Lisa Heffernan. I'm actually the Associate Vice President for SNHU. I run all the external reporting for finance, tax, and I actually, because of my CMA, had the opportunity to not only do financials, but also to get into the technology side of accounting. So I also run the systems team for our ERP. So it's opened a lot of doors for me.
That was perfect. You guys are awesome. All right. I think that's it for the schmoozing part. Now we're going to hear from our experts, and I'm going to walk in front of the big bright light. And as Brian said, I work mostly in the online space, and I do a lot of interaction here with Bill Lightfoot. I've been with Southern New Hampshire University. I'm a graduate, and I've been with the school since September of 2000. I came here, and I was teaching as an adjunct in the MBA program. From 2006 to 2009, I went and got my PhD in business administration, and I came back and I wanted to teach on campus, and they said, oh, we have this new internet school, so we need people to work there. So I started working there in the MBA program, and I've been there ever since, and very excited, very happy. Love being on campus and love working with the accounting and finance staff as well. So we have some really cool people for you to hear from tonight. Liza Cunningham, hello. There she is a new CMA, and she currently manages tax and accounting department at J.E. Cunningham and Associates, LLC. I assume that's a nice family business for you? Yes. Wonderful. She does, her firm does financial management and growth consulting in Worcester, Mass. So she drove here a little ways to be with us, and we appreciate it. Donald drove all the way from Salem, Massachusetts, so it's really nice for him to be here. Liza participates in the Northeast Regional Council of the IMA. She's the newest member of the IMA Global Small Business Committee. Maybe you can explain what that is in a little bit. She's very passionate about helping small businesses that are far too often overlooked, and they're underserved, and they need to grow and realize their potential. 2 years ago, when we did a study of our students that graduated from campus and worked both in accounting and finance and CMAs, the overwhelming amount of our CMA grads were in small business, in companies under 100 employees. So someone who kind of has to do it all. That sounds like what you're doing, Liza. So she's got 5 years experience working with companies of various industries, sizes, tax resolution, business turnarounds, strategic business planning, tax planning, financial training and consulting. She's excited to share how the CMA bolstered her technical skills and confidence and how it helped further her career by helping her clients. She also wrote the most for me on the introduction, so she does good branding as well. That's a lesson for us all to tell our story about who we are and what we have to give. Sue Kennard is here, and hello. And she earned her CMA last year on her 40th birthday. She looks 21. I know, we're all going to think that, but she's actively participated in the IMA at a regional level for about 6 years. She recently became more involved at the New Hampshire chapter level. She joined the Global Small Business Committee this summer. She enjoys the educational value that the IMA brings into her life in various formats. But the best thing is having an instant network of peers that are rooting you on from the moment you join. That's really cool. Maybe you can talk a little bit about that too in a minute. That's awesome. So Robert's here as well. Robert Leonard is a certified, did you raise your hand, Robert? Because I want them to make sure they can pick you out of this panel, by the way. Okay, very good. That was a joke because he's the only man. It's okay. Okay, so Robert is a certified management accountant. He graduated cum laude with a BA degree in finance and economics from the University of Massachusetts. He also earned his MBA degree in accounting and finance. He currently works as a corporate finance manager at a middle market construction company. He is also a podcast host of a top 100 business podcast and a real estate investor. That is cool. You are something, mister. That is really good. And Lori Levine. Lori is a wonderful person. She's been a CMA since 1995. She's the finance director for Philips Healthcare. She is an IMA campus influencer. So I'm going to let her talk first and explain what a campus influencer is. And she will explain to us the purpose of the IMA and what the CMA designation can do for your career. So would you mind starting and talking about that?
No, I would love to.
Grab a mic and go.
Is it working? No.
Are you working okay? That's okay. Take mine.
Okay. All right. Great. Well, thank you all for having me here.
I'm standing in front of you. Okay.
It's all right, they can still hear. So this is my second time coming here to talk about the IMA and being a campus influencer. So I started last year. It was my first time as a campus influencer being here at Southern New Hampshire University, and I've also been to a couple of other schools, my alma mater, Bentley, as well as where my son is now a senior at Bryant University. I spoke to a number of classes there as well. And I'm really very passionate about speaking about the IMA, the CMA, because it really opened doors for me. And I remember being in grad school, so I kind of had a little different path than a lot of you did or have right now. Undergrad, I went management, and then went back for my master's in accountancy. So a little bit of a switch. Most people will go accounting and then go for their MBA. It's a little backwards, story of my life. But anyway, when I was in grad school, the program for accountancy or master's in accountancy was very, very much public driven. I remember my professors say, when you're in audit and when you do tax. And I was already working in industry. I was already a cost accountant, even though I didn't have an accounting degree. So for me, I didn't have the interest to go public. I really loved working in industry. I loved my job as cost accountant, really digging in and analyzing, being out on the floor to figure out where we could improve cost, how we could, get the machine to run faster and make more product, and all of that, like hands-on, you can make things happen type of issues. So I love that. So I didn't want that path of going public. Now, that's great for a lot of people, but for me, that wasn't where my passion is, or was, or is. So I had a professor in the grad program who said, well, did you ever consider looking for the CMA? And I'm like, what is the CMA, right? I had no clue that there was another alternative than CPA. So he introduced me to it. I joined the IMA, and then pursued the CMA after that. So I was very, very happy, and I really feel, being a campus influencer is giving me my opportunity to give back, because I'm very, very grateful for that opportunity and for being encouraged to go that path. So what I wanted to start talking a little bit about, what I do as a campus influencer. And the main drive is to tell you that there are options, right? Like, again, when you go accounting degree, right away, if I say to people I'm an accountant, they say, oh, you're really busy first quarter, huh? No, I don't touch taxes. Like, I am not busy. There is so much more. I'm busy all year, right? Not just one quarter. So if you look at it from an accounting standpoint, if you're all accounting majors, finance majors, you went to a great path. Every company has them, right? You have to have either a public accountant that's doing your books, or you work in industry, and there's a slew of accountants in different areas working there. So job security is really, really high. So great path there. But when you look at accounting, and again, it was always talked to during my program when you work for auditing and when you work for tax, but there are so many more opportunities within accounting, and there's so many opportunities within an industry. You can work in any industry. Like, if you have a passion for something, you can go work in that industry. So right now, I'm very passionate about my job. I work in healthcare. I work for a medical device firm. We make everything from MRIs to patient monitoring to toothbrushes for healthy living, right? So every day, I'm not just crunching numbers, I'm helping the customer better treat patients. We're working for packages for customers. I work on the pricing side and pulling multi-million-dollar packages together for hospitals and how they can, do a wing of their facility, how they get better patient outcomes, feeding into what's important to the customer. So if you want to work for a nonprofit, you can work for a nonprofit if you're passionate about a specific one. Maybe it's cancer research or MS or anything like that, or even animal rights or something like that. Even the nonprofit organization will need a financial person. If you want to work in government, there's tons of government jobs. If you want to work in education, there's tons of education jobs. So the path is so wide open for you within industry as well as levels. You definitely have a path within finance. So the top two people within a company are your CEO and your CFO, right? Which are the most lucratively paid, mostly. Look at an annual return, right? If it's a public firm, you'll see that. They publish those numbers, right? So if your ambition is to own a company or run a company or be the top financial person, you have that opportunity. You also have the background working in finance to move into other areas. I know a lot of people who had a finance background who worked their ranks through finance that are now general managers or CEOs that are running businesses now. Because you really do, even in that position, you have to understand the numbers and the economics behind the business and how to keep it a going concern and employ people, et cetera. You have a lot of responsibility, and understanding the financials is a really good boost into some other options or other careers. So, like, the first thing for as far as being a campus influencer, I want you to be aware of the number of jobs, the number of positions, the number of industries, the number of options you have. And again, you can try something, and if you don't like it, you can move on. Like, I've worked in so many different functions within a company. I spent over 25 years with one company, but I supported manufacturing, I supported marketing, I supported R&D. So very different flavors, but it really got me into the business, not just crunching numbers, but understanding and being part of the decision team. So first thing, wanted to kind of show you careers within accounting, and you're in the right path for job security and opportunity. So good choices there. The second thing I want to talk about is the IMA. So we have a lot of people from the IMA here. It's a globally recognized institution. I've been down to the New Jersey office. The people there are incredible, and they're incredibly passionate about not only getting the certification and getting it known and being in touch with industry to make sure that they're testing and they're giving you the right tools, but ongoing education as well. There's great research. They put out a publication monthly, Strategic Finance. It is a great, if you're doing research, you should really look into that for accounting, systems work, anything in it. It even gives tips on Excel in the back of it. It is an excellent, excellent resource. And a lot of the things online, they have different panels that you can sit on. They do have students, and they run education services. As well, I went to the Northeast chapter for the first time, got my CPEs, because you are required to keep some CPEs as you go through, and once you are a CMA. But it was great networking. It's great to talk to people from different locations and different, working in different areas of accounting, and keeping you sharp and educated on things that are coming up and things that are significant. And it was a wide range. I mean, one of the speakers was talked about kind of a forensic accounting, and he worked for the FBI, and how he came up with some really, they've opened up. I'll let you speak more about it later, because I don't know the specifics, but how they went through and they broke this ring of people that were doing fraudulent things, right? It was insider trading, if I remember correctly. It was a really great, so even if you're an accountant, you can work for the FBI. We have a relative that works in Florida, he carries a gun, works for the FBI and does forensic accounting. So again, avenues far open. The IMA offers a lot of background that you can do research in, a lot of educational opportunities, and again, the CMA exam. So let me talk a little bit about that as well. The CMA exam is very current to what the industry is looking for. So if you have that CMA designation and you're going out to look for a job, and I encourage you to look for it if you're really interested in the CMA, to do it while you're an undergrad and you're going to look for your first job. I'm running over. I'll talk fast.
Okay, I was just checking time.
Okay. So the CMA exam looks at it. They've done polls. They've gone out into work and to look into industry to see what skill set is required. It matches up perfectly. There's two parts of the exam. One is more accounting based, one is more finance based, and it really gives you a well-rounded view of what you need in today's industry. So I encourage you, if you're doing it, plus you're used to studying it now, so it's really a great time. I took the CSCA, which is certified in strategy and competitive analysis recently, a couple of years ago. I got to tell you, when you're out of school, it's hard to get back into that studying. So it was a little bit harder than when I was first out of school and sitting for the CMA exam. But I really do think it's opened up doors, and I'll hand the mic over and not hog it all. But if there's other questions or anything that was going through, I'd be happy to talk to any of you.
What I was going to say is that Laurie will, be here, and if you have any questions about the IMA based on her background, will be here to answer those. And the IMA's website also has a library function. So for those of us who still need to do scholarly research for our papers, we can go into the IMA or the CMA's website, do a drop down, and you will find scholarly research material as well. So it's a neat benefit. Liza, would you like to share some of your experience and background?
I would love to.
Good, thank you.
Thank you, Lori. Thank you, Mark. It really is an honor to be here today, especially in front of so many wonderful young people that have found inspiration in the accounting industry. I want to share a little bit about truly how much the CMA has increased my confidence and really helped me make a difference in my career. But before I go into some examples, I do have to let you guys in on a little secret about me. So Lori majored in management. I majored in something completely unrelated in undergrad. My dad thought I needed a psychologist when I told him I was going to major in psychology. It was a great focus in college. I really enjoyed it. The reason that I majored in psychology is I wanted to make a difference. I wanted to make a change in the world. But I was always a numbers person. So that's why my dad thought I was a little crazy when I majored in psychology. When I graduated, making that change and kind of having that impact on people that I wanted to make was not necessarily materializing in the way that I had hoped or envisioned. So an opportunity presented itself to me that was a little left field, but I had the opportunity to start at an entry-level position as a inside salesperson at a strategic small business firm that I still work for today. So I took the opportunity. Sales was tough, but as I learned more about the company and what we did in the field, I learned that what I was selling to people was an opportunity to change their lives, and not only change their lives, but change all of their employees' lives. So I think one of the things that kind of deterred me from being a math major or being an accounting major was kind of the idea that I would go sit behind a desk and work behind a desk every day, and that I wouldn't make a change and it wouldn't be exciting. And I had that completely wrong. So once I really understood what accounting was about and pursued the CMA designation, I learned that I truly could have an impact on other people. And I fast forward 5-6 years later, I'm an enrolled agent, so I'm certified by the IRS to represent my clients in front of the IRS, and I'm a CMA. So I want to kind of share with you guys a few stories about just experiences that I've had in the field with clients, and how the CMA designation has helped me achieve that change and have that impact on a few companies. So I actually recently started a project at a family business. What you're going to find in terms of themes throughout the stories that I'm going to tell are, I work with a lot of small companies, so we primarily specialize in manufacturing companies, and it's primarily small, so 50 employees or less, and primarily family-run organizations or small, close-knit run organizations. The companies in that sector and that fit that mold, you would be shocked at how many companies do not have people that understand financials, do not have people that are able to take financials and make strategic decisions regarding those financials. And a lot of those companies will get themselves into really bad situations because they don't really understand how bad of a position they are in until they really are at the point where they're not able to pay their bills, they're not able to make their payroll. So the nature of the consulting firm that I work with, or that I work for, is people tend to reach out when they're in a difficult time. So a lot of the stories I'm going to tell you are about, or I'm not going to tell you a lot, don't worry, I'll be quick. But the stories I'm going to tell you are about companies that experienced pain and experienced difficulty. So the project that's probably the most fresh in my head that I recently worked with is a company that has a significant amount of debt. They do about $14 million a year in annual revenue, and they were very profitable, we'll say 5 years ago or so. When they were very profitable, they had kind of set up their debt structure in a way where they were making significant payments on their long-term debt to try and pay it off in 5 years, 7 years. But when you looked at some of the assets that were structured in those notes, they were really things that could have been amortized over a much longer period of time. So when they were profitable, it worked really well because they minimized their interest payments and their interest exposure. But when they hit a time where they were really, really struggling, and I mean almost having to declare bankruptcy kind of struggling, that wasn't working for them. But they didn't have anyone in the organization that was versed enough in financials to be able to identify that. So our company came in, we did a 2-day analysis where we identified several different things that they could use help with. I specifically specialize in the finance side of it, but our firm also does a lot of operational improvements and other consulting services as well. But we actually were able to restructure all of their debt and minimize their monthly payments by about $35,000 a month. So for a small business that's going through cash flow issues, that's a huge change. There's a few other things that we did down there that I truly believe if we hadn't gotten involved and if the owners and other key members of the organization hadn't become more aware of their financial position and their financial structure, there could be 50 people in this small town in Massachusetts that would not have jobs today. So just an example, again, kind of tying it back full circle, my initial understanding or what I thought was a true understanding of accounting was wrong. It's not sitting behind a desk. You can make change. It can be exciting. So another quick story, I know the CMA designation focuses a lot on budget comparisons and variable budgets and different budget structures. I worked with a company that had a budget, but when I first came in, they said, we have this budget, there's no way we're not meeting it. We've been monitoring this for 6 months. It's just not working. We don't know what's going on. So we looked at it a little bit deeper and we kind of analyzed their burdens and their overhead costs, and we determined that what they were using in their actual estimating module was completely wrong. Jobs that they thought they were making money on, they were losing money on, and jobs that they thought they were losing money on were actually profitable. So on a consulting engagement, I went in and worked very closely with the owner who was the previous owner's son, so someone that had newly taken over the business, which is something we see a lot in the small business consulting world, is kind of when you're in that succession or that transition phase in a business. We went in and worked with him and some other key members and completely revised their estimating module. They went from having a net operating loss of about $1 million that had been carried forward for, I think it was either 2 or 3 years, to having the most profitable year in the history of the company. So it was really cool to be a part of that. I actually am still in touch with the owners there. I know that they will always recommend our firm for services, which is a really great thing once you kind of get into the field. Referrals are everything, and making an impact on your clients is the most impactful thing. So
That's awesome, Melissa.
Yeah,
Thank you very
thank you.
much. Robert, would you like to talk about your experience?
Sure.
How's everybody doing, by the way? Are you okay? Still with us? Good. All right, thank you.
So for me, the CMA has really helped accelerate my career a lot faster than I had expected. I think the biggest thing was that it added a lot of authority for me, because the college degrees, it seems almost everybody is going through the similar programs these days. And so what you really have to stand out are these additional designations that you can get, like the CMA. And so when I was applying for entry-level positions, it was tough to get an interview. You didn't really have anything to stand out. But now, as I was climbing the corporate ladder, and as I still am, the CMA really helped me get those applications viewed a lot more. And it's really helped give me a lot of authority. And I recently made a job change, actually, about 6 months ago. And I report directly to the CFO now. And he told me that one of the reasons why he hired me was because I had the CMA. And it really helped provide a lot of authority for me. And so now I'm providing reporting, and I'm doing all of our financial meetings to the board of directors, our executive team, and I don't think that would have been possible without the CMA. I don't think with just having my undergrad and even my MBA, I don't think that either of those degrees alone would have got me to where I am. I think that the CMA really helped with that, because it shows not only that we know the topic, but it also shows that we have the drive and initiative to go out there and pursue something outside of our degrees. And most people aren't going to kind of slide their way through college, but there is some people that do. And so you can't do that with the CMA. If you don't know the material, if you don't study the material, if you don't put in the time, you're not going to be able to pass. And so I think having that on your resume really helps give you a lot of authority. It also helps prove that you have time management skills and again, drive. And once you get into the corporate career, it shows that you're able to manage multiple things at the same time, because when you get your CMA, whether you're in college or you're working in your corporate career already, you need to manage your time to be able to study for the exam, take the exam, and do your work. So it shows your potential employer that you're able to work on multiple things that take a lot of brain power and a lot of time and be successful at them all. So I think the biggest things for me has just been the authority And then outside of the accounting skills, it shows the other characteristics of your work ethic that you can put forward for the organization.
That was nice. Thank you. The concept of getting those certifications, we are seeing that more and more as a higher education, higher academics. We're seeing that employers are demanding that, yes, it's a degree, but that we also need to sort of focus in on a specialty, a passion, and a certification. So that's 100% spot on with the way our thought process is right now. And Sue, would you like to talk about your background?
Sure. I love to talk about myself. Not really. So I'm going to start with that way back in the day that I was one of those that wanted to be a teacher, like everyone wanted to be an astronaut, but I wanted to be a teacher my whole life. And in high school, we actually had, every other year, we were offered an accounting course, and I took that course my senior year of high school. And I absolutely loved it. So I consider myself very fortunate that I figured out what I wanted to do while I was still in high school. And like it really clicked for me. So then I went on to get my bachelor's degree at SNHU, and I took a little time in between before I got my master's degree in finance and accounting. And when I graduated in 2011 with my master's, more people were getting their graduate level degree than there were getting their bachelor's degree. So it was coming off the recession and everybody is going back to get more education. So everybody out there already has multiple degrees. So finding a job at that time was really tough because you didn't stand out without having more. So I really wish I had gotten my CMA right out of school, but I waited like a silliness. But I'm really glad I did it because once I got that CMA, it really opened a lot of doors and it seemed like everything just aligned for me. And now I started teaching at Exeter Adult Education, which is where my high school was. So it's really surreal teaching in my old geometry room, teaching accounting to grown-ups. But now I'm going to be teaching at Merrimack College in the spring. So it's really coming full circle for me, and just watching that kind of unfold and before my eyes is really a wonderful thing. And I am someone that believes that education is never a waste. Even if you figure out that that's not what you want to do with your life, you've learned something. And I think that teaching is really helping people in some kind of facet in their life. So this is a really meaningful thing for me, and I've been working in the corporate world for a long, long time. I've been at the same place. I'm a controller at Northland Forest Products, which is a wholesale lumber distributor. The industry itself is very unique, but accounting is the same everywhere. So I can use what I've learned with the CMA and my education in all facets. So I think Mark wanted me to talk a little bit more about the networking side of the IMA.
That would be nice. Yes.
So I would love to talk about that because when I was my very last class for my master's, I got turned on to the IMA, so I didn't join until I was already out the door. And I really missed having that networking. Like, you have instant friends when you're in school. Like, you have these people that you see once or twice a week all the time. And I kind of missed having that. Just, being in my little cubicle wasn't the same, So having the IMA and going to chapter meetings or going to the Northeast Regional Council meetings, I started off going to the fall conference about 7 or 8 years ago, and now this past conference was at the Hampton Ashworth, and I was the chair. So like everything comes full circle, and so there's event planning that goes on. It's not just accounting. You're not just a number nerd. I identify as a number nerd, and so you have this group of people, and you have people in academia, you have people in other industries that you can bounce ideas off of, because maybe you're really stuck on this one problem and you don't know how to figure it out. You can reach out to these people because they want to help you. And it doesn't matter if they're in the next town over, the next state over. They're great
people, and you can email them or you can call them or just bump into them somewhere and, oh, hey, how you doing? So it's a really great group of people, and they're always rooting for you, which is, having that positivity in your life is really awesome.
That's awesome. That is awesome. So the concept is, once we get into our careers, that we want to extend sort of our learning by being with others who are in a professional association, and that's what the IMA is. It's one of the oldest professional associations in the world, really, and it assists us with growing more in our profession. So, Kristen, can I impose on you to talk a little bit about curriculum? And while Kristen and I will chat a little bit about curriculum, it'll be brief, I'd like you to start thinking about some questions that you might want to know around the CMA and the IMA from our panel, if you can. And if not, I have some, and I can give them to you, and you can ask those. Or, if you have some original questions, that would be really cool. So, Kristen, would you mind just sharing a little bit? Thank you.
Lori mentioned how the CMA, the topics that are part of the exam, they focus on keeping those current with the industry, which is changing rapidly all the time. So with our curriculum as well, we're always looking to make sure our courses are teaching what you need to know. I'm sure Brian is as well with the campus courses. And as the industry evolves and as the CMA topic requirements evolve, that we're getting those added into the courses to stay current with the industry as well. And one other thing, I'm not sure, Lori touched upon, belonging to an association. There's a big focus on lifelong learning, and they require continuing, or CPCs, continuing kind of education credits. So as you are a CMA, there'll be meetings and whatnot where you can continue to evolve with the industry as well and stay current as a lifelong learner.
That was great. So one of the things that we're trying to accomplish is to take our curriculum in accounting and expand it to include more finance as well as data analytics. So we'll be trying to bring all three of those components into our program, and we're going to expand our accounting degree to call it accounting finance. So we'll have another option, and if you choose the accounting finance degree program, you'll be able to take a CMA track. So you'll be able to actually take courses that prepare you to take the CMA exam. So that'll be pretty neat, huh? We'll be getting it done. It's going to take a while. It's not like we can snap our fingers and make it happen, but we are working on it right now, so it'll be good. So any of you have any questions that you've been thinking of or that you'd like to pose or talk to our panel about? Any thoughts? Ooh, awesome. I'm going to walk over and just hand you the mic if that's okay. Thank you.
So what are the benefits of taking the CMA over the CPA?
I think it really depends on what avenue you want to go with your accounting, right? You don't have to have a CPA if you're not going to work in public, right? If you're not going to work for a big audit firm or small regional audit firm. The CMA is more broad and more management or industry focused, and it's gaining more and more popularity. It's very different. It's definitely like a fork, right? So like one side is public, one side's industry. Now that doesn't mean, I mean, there's literature out there that talks about both paths. I mean, you want to be marketable, get both of them. And like some of the information overlaps. So if you've already studied for the CPA exam, there's sections on the CMA exam that will be like very easy for you, right? So that's kind of what the difference between the two. It's really what your personal ambitions are and where you want to work. Now, a lot of people, just one statistic, a lot of people start out in public and they do whatever years they have to do to keep their certification, and then they move over to industry. 75% of people who work in accounting and finance work in industry and not within the public. Does that answer your question? Okay, thanks.
From an academic perspective, also, you can get your CMA and qualify for that after 120 credits, which is a bachelor's degree. And your CPA in the state of New Hampshire, you need 150 credit hours with a master's degree. So the CMA, so what Laurie said in terms of if you really want to be incredibly marketable, like Donald, you get both. You get a CPA and a CMA. But we're programming it, right, to get you to the CMA first, because that's the first thing you can achieve after a bachelor's degree. And then if you go on for your master's degree, which we have, then you get the 150 hours and you qualify for a CPA as well. Donald, did you want to add something? You had a look on your face. I didn't know if you wanted to add anything in terms of that.
No, not right now.
Okay, you just let me down, buddy. All right, I'm kidding. That's fine.
I mean, I think for me, it's a matter of.
Here.
For me, like I said before, it was a matter of, like somebody mentioned before, what track are you going to go to? If your job is going to be reporting financials or auditing financials, then obviously the CPA is going to be more important to you. But if you're inside a company, if your job is to manage cash, to manage resources, to do capital budgeting, to figure out how to make operations more efficient, to analyze internal reports, then I think the CMA is vastly better in that regard. And I was already 7 years into my career when I took the CMA exam. And I actually got through it pretty easily because I felt like that was the stuff I was already doing. I was already doing a lot of this analysis. I was already doing things like learning curves. They tested learning curves and quantitative analysis. This is stuff that I actually did when I was in auditing. I mean, I actually put this stuff to use. And so when I took the exam, I thought it was much easier than if I had just come out of college and was doing it. But I think it underscores when you get that CMA designation, even if you do get it right out of school, you've got that theoretical knowledge that's going to be able to help you in an organization make it run better. And interpreting the numbers is what most CFOs and most CEOs are looking for. They're looking for people that can analyze the balance sheet and figure out, you know, what are the trends there? What is that balance sheet telling me? If you're just there to sort of compile the numbers, you're not really getting that insight. Does that make sense? So,
I appreciated that.
yeah, no problem.
I think Donald's the only one in the room with both designations, and if not, I apologize. But and a CFM as well. So, and I saw another hand. Did we have another question? Well, of course, please do.
I just wanted to mention, I also have earned both the CMA and the CPA, and it really depends on what you're planning to do, you know. If you are undecided, try to get both. And also the work that goes into preparing for the exam will help you with the other exams. So try to do both. But if you know that you're going to do industry, you should definitely go for the CMA.
Spoken like a retired professor. That's perfect. Other questions from our group? Yes, thank you.
So as someone who myself is, well, on track to graduate undergraduate this spring and ultimately wants to go into industry, I see more and more as time goes on that coming out with a master's is almost like the new bachelor's degree in a way. Like, it's almost standard to move up certain ways in the corporate ladder. So I guess my question would be, do you think it's like a better idea to go out, test the waters first, see what certain companies are looking for? Or if that's already what you want to do, would you prefer just to, while you're there, stay, get your master's, and get your CMA all at once?
So I think your point about it being like the new bachelor's, I think that is true. I think a lot of people are going right into that degree. And we're, at my company, I'm hiring for a position, and throughout our organization, we're hiring, and they're not completely entry level, but they're not super high level positions either, and we're requiring master's degrees. So I think it is definitely something that's coming more commoditized. But so I would start to look into the CMA as well. I think that some people say that the CMA is like getting your master's degree. So you could do that first, see if that provides you the value that you need to get the positions that you want, and then consider a master's if that doesn't get you where you need to go. But I think your point's definitely right about it being commoditized.
I just want to talk from my own experience. So I went to undergrad and then I started working and then went back to grad school. I had a little bit more clarity of which direction I wanted to go. So it gave me a few years. I also found out that at a grad level, having that hands-on experience, I was able to pull more out of the education, right? I had a little bit different perspective than going right through school, as well as I could contribute more as far as, the group projects, et cetera, and working, like looking back to grad school, I worked with, you work on teams all the time, you do it now, where people came from different industries, from different paths, and kind of, you really do learn from everyone on the team, and they had something to contribute. So I'm not saying that it's not a great path to go directly through, but from my experience, taking that time in between, and it wasn't a lot of years, right? It was 3 to 5 years of experience. Really, I felt like I got more out of my master's. I knew where to go, right? Like, and what I wanted to study, but also that I got more out of each class in the learning experience. So that was my experience.
Excellent. So anybody else want to share some knowledge about that question? That was a really good question. I've thought about that with my own son. He's a graduate of SNU. What did he want to do? Go back for the master's, wait, etc. It's a tough question. If I were controlling the strings, I would say get your bachelor's, and if accounting is a field you love, start and prep for that CMA, and challenge yourself to take it. It's difficult, and work with your advisor here, right, and get their input. But that's what I would do. And then now you are marketable on 2 fronts because you have a certificate above the 4-year degree, and it will show employers a little bit of a difference. And as Laurie said, get into a job, 2 to 3 years with experience. Maybe you want to go back for your master's then. Liza, do you want to share something?
Yeah, I think just kind of piggybacking on what Lori mentioned, I think when you have more applicable field experience, learning is a completely different experience. So I think, even if it's going right into the master's, but maybe doing it part-time while you get some work experience as well. I know for me doing the CMA designation while I was actually in the field working with clients, I was applying those techniques and everything I learned right away. So it really allowed it to stick and add more value than just kind of learning and then turning around and going and getting the experience.
Anyone else? A question from the audience? Oh, we have more experts, so this is perfect. But oh, you sure look like it.
Well, thank you. Okay, my name's Greg Lanus, and I am a CPA, and I'm a member of the Hartford IMA chapter, and I'm past president of the Waterbury chapter, which is now defunct, but that's a separate issue. And I work for Robert Half, and I help people get jobs. So one thing I first want to mention to you, and I did arrive late because I found out where this building was. I didn't know where it was. Anyway, I got here. I did bring several copies of our salary guide, which is a very useful tool. So I urge you to take a copy of that. You are worth more the more certifications you have. So that's important. A CMA or a CPA or both is worth more than not. Now, the one thing I just want to mention to you, now in Connecticut, you can sit for the CPA exam with your undergrad level. And in order to become a CPA, you do need the 150. What a lot of CPA firms are doing now is that they'll say, well, hold a spot for you until you get your 150 credit hours. So what I tell people to do is take the CMA while studying for the CPA, or take the CPA while studying for the CMA. Because if you do defer getting a job, at the expense of passing the CMA exam. Well, if it takes you a little longer to pass that exam, you're now a year or two behind in terms of where you could be in the workforce. So if you're going to do one, then do the other. Now, it takes a commitment. If it was that easy, everybody would be doing it. So it's not easy. But if you don't do it, where will you be? Quite often in my world, I've met people who did not get their undergrad. They started with a company, and they learned by rote, and they got promoted along the way. And all of a sudden, the economy tanked. And next thing you know, they're out on the street. And now they're used to making X amount of dollars. Well, when they go knocking on the door to find a job, and they're finding out that they're being passed over because they don't have a degree, what do you think they think? I should have got the degree. So, to the point of this of the council here, get it done sooner rather than later. The harder you work, the luckier you get. Do you wish that you were a freshman again in college when you're a senior? Well, I don't, but generally you're more mature, and you wish you could have taken some of those courses over and done a better job. So the real message is that it doesn't end when you graduate. That's just the beginning. So I'm going to be here the rest of the evening. I mean, I'm an old guy. I need sleep too. But please take the salary guide. Thank you.
I was waiting to see if someone would say, what's a CMA make? So what do you think? Someone's got a bachelor's degree, CMA, where are they at perhaps in their salary?
You're going to really torch me. Well, I don't know what the starting salaries are in the Manchester, Nashua area, so you'll have to forgive me. So, but Stamford, Connecticut makes more than Hartford. Springfield, Mass probably makes less than Hartford, and New Haven and Hartford are more in line. So the cost of living, I suspect Boston, they're going to make a lot more than here. So, but it's not so much about how much money you're going to start out with, it's having the extra credentials to get the job. So I'm not answering your question, but
I have the answer. So,
oh, you have the answer.
Yeah, I wanted to see if you knew. That's that's okay. So we've been doing some research around what's the CMA worth for our students as we've been looking at trying to create a straight path. And I wasn't being foolish. I just didn't know if you wanted to share some of the info that you might have. So we're finding that most of our students who are graduating with a bachelor's degree, get their CMA, go into the workforce, most of them are starting in at least 67.5 up to around 70. Now, a CPA will be earning a little bit more, but we're also finding, which is really interesting based on our data, on our research, is that in the greater Boston area, in sort of like the 50-mile radius, big circle, the CMA exams are outnumbering the CPA exam students 2 to 1. So more students in our area are going for the CMA than the CPA. And one of the reasons for that is because the salary is a pretty good start, and I only need a bachelor's degree. So that's just a little tidbit. Any other questions that you might have had?
Can I just add one other statistic?
Of course. Did I
is
see a hand first? Did I see? No. Okay, never mind. Go ahead, please. Go ahead, Laurie.
So it's just from the IMA, some of their statistics. The CMAs in the U.S. can earn 31% more in median total compensation than non-certified accountants. Now, I don't have the statistics on CPA, but 31% is pretty significant.
Yes. So what we're trying to say is, from a academic perspective for you, is that this is good value for your money, right? So yes, a bachelor's degree is awesome and it's a wonderful credential, but having this certification is just going to add cachet, and it's going to help you get a job that's going to pay more. And that's really why we're here, right? I mean, we want to get a job, we want a career, and we want a mission. You know, like Laurie and Sue were talking about that in terms of the mission that they want in their life. So from school, we don't want just get a job. We want you to have a career. We want you to have a profession, something that you're really proud of and that you can invest your time in. So, okay. Any other question? Yes, Kristen, please. sure. Why don't you say that?
Well, I just said it.
I know, but did you all hear what Kristen just said? She was just bringing up that there are courses
Yeah.
for you to take.
I just didn't know if anyone on the panel or in the audience wanted to talk about some of the intense review courses that you take right before you sit the exam. So it helps combine, pull together your 4 years of learning in a short period of time. So you go into the exam, with just fresh knowledge.
We will be building those into our degree program as we move forward. There are different companies that have those, Gleim, Becker, et cetera. Do you want to chat about that for a little bit?
Sure. I used Gleim, and I think Gleim is amazingly effective. I used Gleim for the CMA and the Enrolled Agent certification, actually. It's a great series. It's very structured. So you start by reading a section, and then you take kind of a series of true-false questions. It gives you an idea of how much you retain the information, and then you do as many practice exams as you need to until you get to kind of that magic number in terms of average score. It works really well. I passed all the exams for EA and CMA on my first time using Gleim, so I highly recommend it. And then Wiley, I think, is the other one that does CMA.
Sue, did you want to say something about that?
I actually worked with Gleim, and we're giving away a scholarship for part of the exam, so you can pick which part you want to take. And would now be a good time to draw the winner, since we're talking about it, or make sure you get that to Brian. But I also used the Gleim product, and I thought it emulated the exam experience really well. And there are multiple ways to study through that exam material, because some people learn by reading and some people learn by watching videos. I have to use everything. I downloaded the audio tracks and listened to them in my car on my way to work, and I used every single piece. And in the Gleim bags that are out there, there's a study guide to introduce you to the way their preparation materials work. And they assign you a personal counselor so that they check in on you and you create a study plan with them. And so it really keeps you accountable. So that was my biggest problem with getting myself going with the CMA, is I wasn't accountable. So having that person at Gleim backing me up and saying, hey, just checking in, you should be at this point. And, finally I got myself going. So
Sue, explain, if you don't mind. So I've got my 4-year degree. You mean I got to do something else? And to be focused on the CMA, right? So the material that you need for the CMA, you achieve through your 4-year degree. However, Gleim does.
They do an intensive review so that they're touching on everything that's included in the CMA exam. There's a ton of material in this 4-hour exam, and there's 100 multiple choice questions and 2 essay questions. And so you get 3 hours. Is it okay if I talk about the exam?
Yes, please.
I kind of jumped the gun on that, but so 3 hours for the multiple choice, and there's 100 questions in that. And then if you pass at least 50 questions, you go on to the essay question, and the essay question is multiple parts. So you could have 2 sections that you need to answer. You could have 10 sections that you need to answer, or ratios you need to calculate, or things like that. So it's really great to have that exam prep course to guide you through that, because I don't think I could have passed just studying on my own and not locking myself in a room and doing practice tests, because I had been out of school for so long. I got out of the practice of taking exams. So the biggest challenge for me was answering the question that they were asking, because all of the answers that they give you are technically correct. You have to pick the best answer. So that was really tough for me to get back in that mindset. And when you're still in school, you kind of still have that brain of wrapping your mind around how to answer a question and picking it apart. So I kind of lost that being out of school. So I encourage you to, yes, definitely get some experience and feel where you want to go in the world. Because I totally agree with everybody on the panel that being able to apply what I'm learning instantly really helps it stick. So
That was excellent.
any more questions about the exam process?
So neuroscience tells us that the very best way to study and I wish someone had told me this when I was an undergrad, is that the very best way to study, even though it's arduous, is to test. Testing and doing inferences based on the material that you learn in testing is the best way for you to remember. And so that's why going through a course and getting your degree is very important. But to actually prepare for an exam, we need to go through like a testing process to help charge our neurons so we'll remember the material. So test yourself. Write questions on one side of a note card, write the answers on the other, hand them to each other, and have them ask you the questions, and then you try to get the answers. So testing is really important. Brian, do you want to take the microphone and go to winner?
We have one person joining us online right now.
Perfect.
Put her name in, but she also has a question.
Wonderful. What's the question?
I gotta read it.
Okay.
But I don't know if we want to, if somebody wants to pull the, any last minute entries into the raffle? So, how about you? So they're all in here mixed up. Alicia, McDonald.
Yay, Alicia. Congratulations.
Congratulations.
Wonderful. And how much is this worth?
About 600, well, it's only one part. So,
No,
so the full exam is $1,200, so it would be about $600
that's nice.
for one part.
Very good.
Yes, yes, we do. Yeah, if you'd like to share that about the scholarship. So we have had students apply for the CMA scholarship here, and I'll go back there and be ready to ask that question.
Thank you. I'll give you one. Do you have one? Okay. Good.
I just wanted to also know, this is great. You won the test. You start studying tonight, okay? Oh, that's great. That's great. But the IMA also offers scholarships per year for each school. So there's 10 per each educational institute. So your teachers would know and can nominate people if you're interested. You should talk to your professors about it. But listen to what it includes. It's pretty significant. It's about a $1,000 package, and it includes your membership within the IMA. It includes the membership from the beginning, from when you join, all the way through the testing period. And I think it's a 2-year period. It also includes testing material, like you won today, for both parts, as well as cover the cost of the exam itself.
Well, that's a good
right?
deal.
So if you look at it, it's your membership is 230K. I'm sorry, 230. I work for a big company. Everything's in K. Sorry, 230 a year. If professional memberships, if you're a student member, you can join the IMA for $39, and if you use the coupon code that I'll give you, it will only cost you $25. And that's Campus 20. So if you wanted to join the IMA now as a student, if you use the code Campus 20, it's $25 per year, and you'll have access to all those research materials. So the scholarship would cover that. It would cover the entrance exam, which is another, for students, $188 one-time fee. And then it would cost, for all parts of the exam, it's $311 for student per exam part. It would cover both of those. So if you're highly motivated and doing well in your classes, I'd go talk to your teachers and ask them if they'd nominate you for the scholarship. Again, there's 10 per year that each institution can offer.
And we have had students here on university campus who have gotten that scholarship. Professor Micheline West, who's the co-chair of the accounting department, she has managed that before for some of our students, so it's a great opportunity for students to get that and get those costs covered.
Excellent.
So I wanted to just mention, so we have Caroline joining us, who I assume is an online student here at SNHU, because she asked the question, if you're a fraud examination or a forensic accounting student, and you wanted to get your CMA, do you need to switch to this accounting finance degree that you were talking about earlier if she wanted to pursue the CMA?
No, she does not need to switch her concentration. And if she would like, she can have her advisor, she can reach out to her advisor, and her advisor can reach out to me, and or Kristen or Mona Stevens, and we can give her the exact program path for her to make sure that she has the right courses under her belt. Thank you, Brian. That's an excellent question. So let's wrap up, if that's okay. And I'm going to ask you all the same question. And I would like you to just share a little bit of information about the exam. So let me give you an extra mic. What was the hardest part of the exam for you?
Let me go first. All right, I took it when it was 4 parts and it was handwritten. Actually, the waiting was, because when we took it, it wasn't computerized, so we had to wait about 3 months before we found out whether we passed or not. That was one of the most difficult ones. But I think it's timing, like staying on it, making sure that you're progressing, making sure that you're covering all the material was the hardest for me.
For me, the hardest part was when I took my exam, there was fire alarms going off. So that was probably the hardest part. But outside of that, it was really just covering all the material. It went from 4 parts to 2. I just took it last year, November of 2018 is when I got my designation. It was only 2 parts, which means there's a lot of information in the parts. So just making sure that you cover all of it is probably the hardest part.
I kind of already covered this, but just getting back in the study routine was the most difficult part for me, and getting into that, the mode of answering testing questions the way that they want you to answer them. And I never really covered budgets in my education, so learning budgets for the first time and actually being able to figure out variances was a tough one for me. But yeah, just the whole experience. And being able to sit still for 4 hours in a room with other people with headphones on, that kind of thing. And I had fire alarm testing at my window too, so it was very distracting.
I think everyone has a little bit of a different experience. A lot of people that I've talked to actually say the second part is easier. I found the second part to be harder. I think it's just a matter of what you are more comfortable with. So the first part was more applicable to what I had done in the field. So I caught on to it a lot quicker and I was more comfortable with the material. One thing, kind of a spin on the question, I really stressed out about the essays. With exams, particularly exams like this, you don't expect an essay component. If you do go the GLIME route, the essay practice questions are amazing. They're thorough. They're going to stress you out because a lot of them are really, really hard. On the actual exam, they break it out into like sub-questions. It's not one big question. So don't overly stress about the essay questions, because typically, even if there is one sub-component to the essay questions that you really have no idea about, you'll know the other 4, or hopefully you'll know the other 4. So.
Do we have any other questions or comments from anybody in our audience tonight? Anything we'll share?
Campus 20.
Campus 20?
Yep, Campus 20. Yep, Campus 20. And it's $25 versus the $49.
That's great. Yes.
May I add one more thing to the question of when to take the exam?
Sure.
I taught accounting for 21 years as accounting professor at another university. I also have a department chair as well as the accounting society faculty advisor for many years. Yes. Should I start over again?
Whatever you like.
Okay. Hi, my name is Marianne James. I was an accounting professor as well as department chair for many years at another university. I'm a CMA and a CPA. One of the factors I think that was perhaps not brought out is that it is easier to take the exam, to prepare and take the exam when you're still in school. And if you can take the new path, that will be really, really helpful. Because one of the things is, once you get out in the professional world, the opportunity cost to stop and study for the exams gets higher. And it becomes more and more difficult. School is easy in comparison to some of the professional careers. So to go back and start studying for a professional exam becomes really hard, and the closer you are to school knowledge, the easier it is to study. So that's one of the factors you might want to consider.
What was your first name again, sir?
I'm Greg.
Greg. So Greg made a really cool point, and I'm going back to school. I'm going for another doctorate. Yes, I'm insane. So I'm going to Northeastern. I'm getting a doctorate in education. One of the things I recently learned in one of my courses is that there's really three things to being successful. The first is you have to begin, right? You have to start. You have to be willing to say, that I want to do this. I'm going to start. Second part is you got to persist, because you're always going to face obstacles. You're always going to face challenges. Somebody is always going to tell you, and it could even be you, why you shouldn't do this. That's always going to happen. And then the third part is you need to have the mental energy, the will up here. Willpower is actually learned. It's a part of learning. It's a part of your brain. You need to have the willpower to continue to bring it to closure. So those are the three things that happen. So the CMA, everybody who's here tonight, highly successful people, right? Role models for us, mentors for us. So you're choosing well by looking at accounting, and it's a very exciting field. Really is. It's a great field. So, Brian, are we good to close? Excellent. So I want to thank you very much for being here. It was fun to be with you, a lot of fun. Any other thoughts? Closing comments? I guess we're done. Have a good night. Thank you for being with us.
I'm going to break it. It doesn't work. But it was in there. Maybe it was the other one. Oh, it was the other one.
That's why, yeah. Okay, I'm glad you didn't.